Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Advanced Bass Fishing, and really appreciate you guys joining me for today's video. Got a good one for y'all today. We are going to be talking about how bass react to different lure colors and sort of like how color affects bass and what you can do to use it to your advantage, because this is a complex topic, guys. When you talk about lure color, there are so many different unknowns out there. There's so many different variables that determine what colors bass prefer. So what I'm going to try to do in today's video is I'm going to try to share with you guys my experience with color and my experimentations with color and how I've seen it affect the bass and how the bass react to it based upon different situations. So we're going to get into that in today's video. Also, guys, before we get started, a couple of our quick housekeeping tips we got into. I'd just like to invite everybody to please swing by my links in the description I put here in this video and check out my Tackle Warehouse link for your spring fishing gear. If you guys want to support advanced bass fishing, this is a great way to do it, is just to use and bookmark that link along with the other links in there. And also, if you'd like to go a little bit further and help, you can become a channel member of Advanced Bass Fishing, hit the subscribe button, all that stuff helps out, so really appreciate that. But I really enjoy doing these, just sitting back in the chair and talking bass fishing with you guys. This is one of my favorite parts of doing the YouTube videos. I like it better even than just like, showing you guys lures and stuff. I feel that, like talking to you guys, like we were just hanging out together in the room here talking, that you can put the video on while you're driving or whatever, or cooking dinner. I feel like it's really beneficial because I'm sharing with you guys some information that you can assimilate and absorb almost like in a classroom setting. So I think it's, very productive for everybody. Okay, let's talk a little bit about color. One of the things that I have seen in my own fishing, color makes a huge difference. I mean, color really makes a big difference. A lot of people say, oh, the color's not a big deal. It's like bass can't see colors, or they see this or that, or they see different hues and shades, or this color looks the same to another bass. Guys, you can't say that. It's like we cannot get inside of a bass's mind and see what color they think something is. I don't care how many studies they've done on it. I have seen in my own fishing that color plays a huge role in fishing, absolutely a massive role in generating strikes. So don't ever let anybody tell you that color is not that big of a deal, because it is a big deal. I don't care what the water clarity is, color is a major factor. So here is the thing that you have to think about in terms of color. There's a lot of different variables that determine which color is going to work the best. Now, those variables are determined by your water clarity. They're determined by the weather conditions you have, as far as the, if it's sunny or cloudy or partly cloudy, or the density of those clouds, the overall light intensity in correlation with the wind, time of day that you have, the species of bass that you're fishing, time of year, ton of different stuff influences color. But what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to give you guys some foundational tips and advice to begin a search with, as far as this, selecting a color to start out with. And then inevitably you have to experiment to see what color is going to work best on the bass, because there are two things that I know about color and bass. Number one is there are some foundational guidelines that you can go by that do work pretty regularly. But on top of that, it's really what the fish want. And a lot of times I've seen that what I think is going to be the best color for the situation does not turn out to be the best color. There's something always that's different that surprises you. And I think a lot of it has to do, and this is probably one of the things you really need to remember more than anything, is that more important than color is the fact that changing colors to a color the bass has not seen is equally important, because simply changing a color to a color that bass have never seen before will generate strikes. Because if you look at the color options about most lure colors that are offered at retail tackle stores, they have what's called a base or core selection of color. And a lot of times those are the most popular colors, like your black back Chartreuse side, your sexy shad, your, some type of a crawdad pattern. There's about a half a dozen different patterns that are best sellers, and every company out there makes a lot of these particular colors. And in general, those are the type of colors that you don't want to use as much. I'm not saying they don't work, but there's something to be said for the fact that the more a bass sees a certain color, the less they're going to react to it. And that's why I'm a really big advocate for custom painting lures, painting my own lures, having other people come up with custom custom colors, and using lures from companies that have a wide color selection. That's one of the things I love about Megabass is they have hundreds of different colors, subtle differences. Sometimes that makes a really big difference in it. Okay, now given that, you've got to start somewhere. So let's run through some conditions here as far as telling you what some good lure color selections. Let's talk a little bit about lures that have chartreuse in it, which are popular lure colors. Now these can be the typical blackback chartreuse side. They can be some type of a perch pattern that has chartreuse, the different shades of chartreuse. Some can be bright, some can be pale, but overall a chartreuse side. One of the things I found out about chartreuse is it catches the biggest fish. Chartreuse is an aggressive color, and if they're whatever the biggest fish in the area is, they usually go for the chartreuse first. But the problem is bass get conditioned really quick to chartreuse because it stands out so much. So chartreuse is a color that I like to use in overcast conditions, in off-colored water conditions, and in conditions where the bass do not have very much fishing pressure. A chartreuse type lure is really, really good when bass are aggressive and you're on a lake that does not get hammered a lot. That's one of the things you need to remember about it. Also, anything with chartreuse in it works really good early in the morning or late in the evening. A lot of times I'll start out with a chartreuse type lure the first couple hours when the sunlight levels are low, and then I'll change it to something else. But if I can get them to bite chartreuse, that is one of my favorite things. Now, sort of along that same type of deal is some type of a pearl or white bait. If you have a pearl or white swim bait or crankbait or jerk bait, it sort of acts the same way as a chartreuse because the pearl and the white really set off a glow in the water. So they're sort of an aggressive color. So again, the pearls and the whites, the flat finishes on them work really good in the same type of conditions that the chartreuse does. Your off-colored water, low light conditions, cloudy days, those are going to be really good conditions for it. Again, they produce a little bit bigger fish, but the fish get conditioned to them as well. Now, the colors that I really like are the more subdued, subtle colors. And these are the colors that tend to be either some type of a crawdad pattern or some type of a shad pattern in some type of variations in the hue of the bait. Now, my favorite type of lure color for any hard lure is some type of a translucent shad pattern. Now I do use metallic and I do use solid patterns, a lot of times, off-colored water, that type of deal. But I have found out, guys, myself, the last 10 years or so, that if you get some type of a subtle translucent shad pattern, whether it be sexy shad, Tennessee shad, or whatever it may be, different, every company's got a different, how they create different colors, but something that has a semi see-through finish on it. These tend to be more subtle and more natural, and they work better in heavy fishing pressure situations. So if you're on a lake that's getting a lot of heavy fishing pressure, a lot of times, I don't care what the conditions are, it can be off-colored water, it can be cloudy skies, they will react to those translucent shad patterns a lot of times better than any other color out there, even in the off-colored water. I have done really good in lakes that get a lot of fishing pressure that have water visibility of maybe less than 12 inches on some type of a translucent shad pattern. Now, another thing about some type of a translucent shad pattern is they work really good in a wide range of sky conditions and water clarity conditions, but they're also really good under super tough conditions. Like if it's bluebird, tough fishing, again, heavy fishing pressure, rising barometric pressure, a lot of light intensity in the water, they can be really, really good. And another thing about it is they work in dirty water, mid-water, and clear water, based, again, upon the sky conditions. I have caught a lot of fish in dirty water, like where you have water visibility of around 6 inches on those translucent shad patterns if you have bright sun, because bright sun with not much wind you'll get more filtration in the water and you'll get more visibility, and they'll go after those translucent colors quite a bit. Now, same for the crawdad patterns. On my crawdad patterns, I do like some type of a translucent looking crawdad, whether it be oranges, reds, greens, browns. I find that those translucent patterns on a crawdad pattern will work pretty good. Again, it's just experimentation, but those are some of my favorite ones with that. So one of the things in bass fishing is we tend to try to compartmentalize everything, where you want to make it where it's real definitive. So I can't sit here and give you a video and say, this is going to work here, this color is going to work there, this color is going to work in this water visibility, this color is going to work if it's cloudy or sunny. It just doesn't work that way, because bass, you don't know what triggers them. You don't know what triggers them to want to strike a lure. There's just so many different things that go into that. It's their mood and their metabolism and their personality they have based upon the time of year and all the other environmental factors. So keep an open mind with that. And if I could leave you with one tip on this, is just experiment. Experiment with different lure colors, paint your own lures, scratch your lures up, sand them down a little bit, rough them up, make them look rough, make them just try to give them a different look. I don't ever use a lure out of the box without doing something to it. I'll sand it down a little bit, I'll scrape it up a little bit with a knife, I'll put some gills on it with red fingernail polish. Any lure that I use, I'm going to modify it to some extent, because I do not want to use a lure straight out of the box that everybody else is also using. I have found that not only it makes a difference from my own personal experience, but it gives you more confidence. If I tweak or modify a lure color myself, I know that nobody else has done that. And you can't discount that amount of confidence that having a lure color that nobody else has gives you. I've got about 6 or 7 different lure colors, guys, that I do not talk about. And I've experimented, and it's taken me decades to figure out these colors. And I've got a tremendous amount of confidence in them. It's like I've caught so many bass on some of these colors simply because I know nobody has them. I've done great in tournaments on them, keep them hidden in the rod locker, try to protect them as much as I can. So it's not just me, everybody's got that. So one piece of advice I'll give you guys, come up with your own color. It's like if you like a shad pattern crankbait, try painting one up yourself, or have somebody that paints lures, give them an idea, something that's a little bit different, a different back color, a different, how colors bleed off to the side into the middle, different belly color. Just mix it up a little bit and see how that works. So anyway, just a few random thoughts on color, guys. Hope it helps you all out, and we'll talk later.